Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking an absolutely brilliant framework for designing truly inclusive and multilingual digital learning environments. So think of this not as, a set of rigid rules, but as an exciting shift in mindset. We're talking about proactive digital architecture. Instead of frantically retrofitting a leaky roof when a storm hits, because we've all been there, right? We're going to focus on building really strong, welcoming foundations right from the start. Let's dive right in.
So here's a question to get us started. Who is your digital classroom actually excluding? I know, it's a heavy question. It's so easy to assume that just because we've uploaded our materials to a learning management system, boom, we've created an equitable space. But access to a platform doesn't automatically guarantee access to learning. Sometimes, it turns out, the very tools we use are quietly shutting the door on certain learners without us even realizing it.
Which brings us to our first core concept. Section 1, the neutral design myth, and dismantling the monolingual default. You see, digital environments often have this built-in monolingual default. Things like menus, prompts, discussion threads, they usually just assume a single language. And historically, anything outside that target language was seen as, well, an obstacle. But contemporary education asks us to completely flip that script. We need to view a learner's full language background as a dynamic, multilingual repertoire. Their other languages, they aren't in the way at all. They're actually an integrated, highly valuable cognitive resource for making meaning.
Okay, moving on to part 2, accessibility as digital architecture, from retrofitting to building.
Let's compare our old habits with where we actually need to be. Traditional accommodation is totally reactive. It's waiting until a student hits a brick wall, like say, a video they literally can't understand, and then scrambling to patch it up. Architecture, on the other hand, aligns perfectly with universal design for learning. It's all about proactive design. You anticipate that learner variability is a given, and you bake accessibility right in from the absolute start, rather than treating it as a special, time-consuming adjustment after someone complains.
And if you're wondering if this really works, let me give you a classic example, the curb cut effect. This beautifully illustrates why proactive architecture is a total game changer. Just like a physical curb cut on a sidewalk helps wheelchairs, strollers, and delivery carts all at the same time, digital accessibility helps everyone. For instance, if you build in edited video captions primarily for deaf learners, you are simultaneously helping multilingual students who prefer to read while they listen, or even just students trying to study in a super noisy room. Building for the margins genuinely benefits the whole shebang.
So how do we actually build this inclusive architecture? We use the POUR principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Now don't think of this as some dry, super technical web standard. Think of it as your practical, everyday architectural checklist. Ask yourself, have you captioned that video so it's perceivable? Is the interface operable without a mouse? Are your instructions actually understandable and free of confusing jargon? And finally, is the content robust enough to play nicely with the assistive technologies your students are actually using?
This leads us right into our next major pillar, Section 3, embracing the multilingual repertoire, or translanguaging in digital spaces.
Now, this brings us to a fascinating concept called translanguaging. Now, this is distinct from code switching. Code switching kind of treats languages as these separate, rigid boxes you jump back and forth between. But translanguaging, it treats the learner's entire repertoire as one massive, cohesive, cognitive tool. It's the dynamic, flexible use of all their linguistic resources to make meaning. And here's the best part. Digital environments are uniquely, absolutely perfect for supporting this. Practically speaking, what did this look like? Well, we can design tasks with shared multilingual annotation, where students are actually translating difficult terms for each other. We can teach them to use AI translation critically, as a supportive scaffolding tool rather than just a shortcut. And we can leverage collaborative platforms for multi-layered drafting. As successful case studies from places like the University of Huelva have shown, using digital tools in this way dramatically lowers cognitive barriers for students. It's truly amazing to see in action.
Let's pull all of this together in Section 4, the Repertoire Map Blueprint, your architectural checklist. This repertoire map builds your ultimate, actionable blueprint. It basically asks you to quickly evaluate 5 key dimensions before any task goes live. Number 1, linguistic repertoire. Whose languages are actually welcome here? 2, translanguaging design. Can they use those languages to do real cognitive work? 3, accessibility architecture. Are those POUR principles we talked about baked in? 4, infrastructure access. What are you assuming about their internet bandwidth or devices? And 5, communication design. Are you using asynchronous options to let those quieter, maybe more hesitant voices participate? It pulls everything into a single, highly cohesive design habit.
Seriously, if you take away only one single thing from this whole explainer, let it be this incredibly powerful insight from the source material. When participation is unequal, the first place to look is the space, not the learner. Wow. I mean, it is just so tempting to shrug and say a student is just shy or unengaged, right? But the reality is, limited participation is usually a structural flaw in the digital architecture we've built, not an individual student's failure.
Which leads us perfectly to our final provocative question for you to ponder. Whose participation does your design enable? Next time you sit down to set up a digital activity, I challenge you to look at your architecture and really ask yourself who you are implicitly inviting in and who, perhaps accidentally, you might be leaving at the door. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and build some incredibly inclusive digital spaces.